All right, let's jump right in. If you're a developer building with AI tools right now, you already know the absolute grind of typing out massive, highly specific prompts over and over again. You know the drill. You want the AI to use your specific design system, your testing frameworks, your exact name and conventions. But copying and pasting that huge block of context every single time, it is a massive drain on your productivity. So today, in this explainer, we're diving into the ultimate time-saving macro, architecting custom slash commands for Claude Code. We're going to see exactly how to build these commands from the ground up, moving from basic generation all the way to highly targeted dynamic code creation.
Here is the roadmap for our explainer today. We're covering meeting Claude Code commands, the under-the-hood mechanics, architecting a custom command, mastering command arguments, and lastly, the human in the loop.
So, Section 1. Meet Claude Code commands. It's time to actually take the reins of your AI assistant.
Now, a slash command isn't some deep, hidden API integration that takes days to figure out. It's actually incredibly simple. It is just a predefined, complex prompt stored as a markdown file. Think of it like a giant macro. It's a prepackaged recipe with all of your specific constraints baked right in. When you execute the command, Claude basically pulls the instructions from that markdown file and uses it as a high-level prompt to guide literally everything it does next.
You've probably already used some of the built-in commands. You can discover them just by typing a slash in the Claude Code interface. For instance, there's /clear to wipe your context clean, /model to quickly switch the AI model you're using, maybe bouncing over to a specific Sonnet model, or /add_dir, which is just incredibly useful for giving Claude access to a totally separate working directory. That's a lifesaver if you're managing a front-end and a back-end repo at the same time. But while those built-ins are great, the real magic happens when we start writing our own.
Moving right along to Section 2, the under-the-hood mechanics.
To create a custom command, there are just a few architectural ground rules we have to follow. First, your command files must live in a very specific directory, a .claude folder, and inside that, a commands folder located right in your project's root. The file format itself is .mmd, which just stands for Markdown. Once created, you trigger them by typing a /. But, and this is a big but, pay attention to that session rule. Claude Code only scans for new or updated command files upon startup. So if you write a brand new command or edit an existing one, you absolutely must exit and restart your Claude session to pick up the changes. If you skip that step, you're going to be sitting there wondering why your brilliant new script is just completely ignoring you.
All right, Section 3, architecting a custom command.
Imagine a scenario where we're churning out a ton of UI components for a project, and we need absolute consistency every single time. We can create a file, let's call it ui-component.mmd. Inside, we write out a checklist of instructions, which is effectively an ultra-detailed prompt. We tell Claude, hey, use Pascal case for naming. We tell it to generate specific component variants and sizes. We can even instruct it to write a test file and autonomously run those tests until they all pass before it even considers the job done. And crucially, we tell it to only add the new component to a designated preview page. Why? Well, the sources actually point out that sometimes Claude can get a little giddy and try to implement your new component everywhere across your whole project. This constraint keeps the AI focused exactly where you want it.
And here's a massive power user tip. Inside your custom command markdown file, you can use the @ sign to pull in other files as direct context. So if you want your brand new UI component to perfectly match your company's brand, you literally just use the @ sign to load your CSS theme variables file directly into the command prompt. It's incredibly powerful. But we do hit a slight snag here, which brings us to Section 4, mastering command arguments. See, if we just run that basic command we just architected, we hand the reins completely over to Claude. In the source example, the developer ran their new UI command without specifying exactly what to build, and Claude just decided to build a card component. Now, it was a beautiful card component, sure, with dark mode and hover states, but it was essentially a mystery component. Total unprompted chaos. We don't want a mystery. We want exactly what we need in that specific moment, and that is where parameter commands come in. To fix this chaos, we implement an argument parsing workflow inside our markdown file. Step 1 is updating the file's metadata. Step 2, we use a special variable called $arguments. Claude uses this variable to capture whatever you type after the command itself. But what if you need to pass multiple details, like say the name of the component and a summary of what it does? Well, step 3 is the secret sauce here. You instruct Claude in the markdown to parse that single string using square brackets. You literally write instructions telling Claude to map the input to distinct values like bracket name and bracket summary. And remember step 1, the metadata? That's done using front matter at the very top of your markdown file. You define a description and an argument hint. What is so effective about this is that Claude Code reads this front matter and pushes it directly into your chat interface. When you type the slash and select your custom command, the UI actively prompts you with your own argument hints. It reminds you exactly what inputs your macro expects right before you hit enter.
Finally, Section 5, the human in the loop.
So we have this fully architected, dynamic, parameter-driven command. Let's see what happens when we put it to the test. We ask the AI to build an icon component using our new dynamic arguments. We pass the name icon and a summary requesting a circular background. The AI gets right to work. It's generating variants, it's sizing things, it's writing the tests, but we have to ask the million-dollar question. Is the AI's first draft always perfect?
Honestly, no. In the source material, the AI technically followed every single instruction perfectly. It built the component, it passed the tests, it put it right on the preview page. But when the developer actually looked at the result in the browser, the AI had awkwardly embedded basic keyboard emojis to represent the icons instead of hooking into a professional icon package. Technically correct for sure, but practically a massive failure for a real development environment.
And this right here is why the architecture of your commands is only half the battle. The other half is the quick fix workflow. The developer didn't just shrug and accept the emojis. Because they actively reviewed the generated code, they instantly spotted the issue. They stayed right there in the chat, told Claude to swap out the emojis for a real icon library, and Claude instantly updated the files perfectly. This quote from the source is the biggest takeaway of all. AI coding tools, no matter how beautifully you architect their commands, are assistants. They don't have your taste, they don't know your unwritten preferences. Building a robust slash command gets you 90% of the way there in a fraction of a second, but staying in the loop to guide that final 10%, that is exactly what separates good code from great code. By combining detailed markdown instructions, dynamic argument parsing, and active human oversight, you can fundamentally transform how you interact with Claude Code. You aren't just prompting anymore, you are architecting workflows. So thinking about your own daily grind, you've seen how to build the ultimate macro. What repetitive, tedious coding task are you going to architect a custom command for next? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and happy coding.